Hey Maker, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about 3 different ways to decorate your badge reel buttons. Hey Maker, okay, so today we're going to talk about 3 different ways to decorate your badge reel buttons. Now, when I say button, I mean the little well here on your badge reel. So you may see, I have shown a lot in my own videos where I decorate and it matches usually if I'm doing a mini head, it matches the bow or, whatever glitter color that I'm selling the badge reel in. I usually decorate it with a matching glitter color, but glitter is not the only way to decorate these badge reels. So the way I start is I have my little wooden block. You guys know I love my wooden blocks. My very first video when I was doing how to make a mini head badge reel, I showed you my little block. It was a bigger wooden block, but this one's a smaller one for my, badge reels because I don't need anything super huge. So I take my badge reel, I cut a tiny piece of painter's tape. I like painter's tape because I can remove it and use it again because I do, use it again over and over. Once I'm done with these, I will do another set or whatever. So when I'm making these in bulk, and setting up on here, I find is a great way to get a bunch done at one time. So I can, when I'm using glitter, which I'm gonna show you the glitter method today, but I'm also gonna show you a couple other ways that we can do it. So I take this painter's tape. I usually use the smaller painter tape, but I couldn't find my roll. It's somewhere around here, but I don't know where. So we just are gonna take this and cut smaller pieces, skinnier pieces, because you don't want it to be touching. When you put your tape on here, you don't want your tape at all near your wells, because if you're glittering, will absolutely mess up your glitter if it touches the well or if it's into the well or in that area. You're gonna have some issues there. So I'm gonna put down maybe more than I'm actually gonna do, because when I mix my glitter, sometimes I mix a little more than I intend. And so I like to use all of it if I can. So I like to have my badge reels ready because I don't want to have my badge reels sitting here and my glitter sitting here and I need to, my glitter curing or whatever, or just sitting here and not have my area all set up. And I guess I could do one of the other 2 ways instead of glitter. So I do that, and when you're putting them down, and you can use anything flat. I like my little, blocks, my little wooden blocks that I just cut this in my garage. So you can use whatever, some flat surface. I like this because it's low. I want my badge reels to be touching, because if they're hanging over, then what happens is this will. So I want this low enough, this to be thin enough that my badge reels can rest on the table or the surface that I'm working on, because you don't want your badge reels to do that. See, it's like bending in. And if that happens, I usually just move it a little bit closer to have it stay up. So you have to kind of position these just right so that they're level and they're not like this one's too fallen over. You don't want that, because if it's tilting in either direction, then your resin, if you're doing the resin version of these, your resin is going to spill over. So you certainly don't want your resin spilling over. So I do so that it's just lined up perfectly. I'm gonna put another piece of tape here because that is just not holding it. And I make sure that they're level. And then see here, these are a little popping up and popping around. And so I'm going to put my little piece of tape there. And also, I didn't mention this before, but I'm gonna take this off to show you. There's a little button right there. So I don't go this way on purpose, because that button, if I put it down, it's gonna sit up. So I put it on so that little button piece is hanging over the edge, so that it's obviously not creating that uneven surface that I was just talking about. And this way I can do both wells at one time, because when I first started doing this, I would do the one side and then I would flip it over and do the other side, and it took just forever. And there was no way I could continue in that manner, it was just too much. So this is how I do them now. I usually will glitter them just because my colors are pretty specific, and I'm not a prepared lady. Like, so I don't usually prepare a bunch because I'm going to show you how to do the resin pieces as well. But I'm not usually prepared enough and have the colors made in my resin pieces. And so I usually do it this way. Plus I don't know, I like this way better just because I like doing both. And when I do something that sticks up a little bit like these, you can't put them on both sides because then the badge reel does not fit through the part that the people need it to fit through. So like this piece here needs to be able, this side needs to be able to fit through their ID or whatever. And so if there's something sticking up, it's not gonna fit through. Okay, so you wanna keep that in mind when you're doing this, because a lot of people you'll see add other things too, not just glitter or not just these druzy charms, but they do other things that are much bigger. And when you do that, you can only do it on the one side, and you wanna do it on the side that's attached, like the top part, so that the bottom part can slide through that badge reel so that they can clasp it together like so. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So way number one, the first way I'm gonna show you, and I have my glue. The first way, before we do any glittering or any resin stuff, the first way I'm gonna show you is the resin charms. Like these I make. I use this, which I got on Amazon, and it's kind of a mess because I use it all the time, but I use both the small squares and the large squares. I usually don't do the ovals or, you know, the little dots or any of those. I just will fill up the whole entire thing with whatever color glitter I'm working with and just get a whole bunch done at one time. But I'll use the large squares and the small squares because they both fit on. And the comparison, if I want to show you, the large square is about that size and the small square is about that size. But if you see, they both fit. You know, the small square just barely covers, and I'll use my gem picker to get it really like straight. And then the small square is, I like better. It's a perfect fit. Like it's the exact width of the badge reel clasp, you know, the little plastic piece. So it is a perfect fit. So I do like the big ones better. Plus they just are more of a statement. Like they just, because they're bigger, they look better. So what I do is I pour 2-part epoxy resin, put in my glitter, and then I fill this up and then I let it cure for however long. Usually I'm using my heat machine, my Juan V, and so it's like 2 hours, it's an hour and a half that it sits in the Juan V, and then it comes out and then they're done. And so I do that. And so after that, I get this piece here. And then when I'm gonna attach it to a badge reel, before I attach it, I take a sanding block. This is a 180. You can really use any grit because you're just trying to scratch it up a little bit, scuff it up a little bit so that it can bond to the glue, so that it's not shiny and soft, you know? So I'm gonna take it and I'm just gonna give it a quick little rub. And I like this little, rounded corner because I can get inside. When I fill up my mold, I don't fill it all the way so that I get a little bit, see how it's indented? I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can see that, it's indented. I want it to be a little bit indented so that it kind of sits on top of the badge reel. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my glue. You guys know I love my Loctite Super Glue Professional Liquid. This is my absolute favorite glue. Never ever have an issue with it. Never ever clogs on me. Even, you know, like you can see it's a little gunky, but it's still gonna come out and be perfect. And so it's just a tiny little drop. Like that's even a little bit too much. And then I'm gonna take my gem picker, which I should have had out and ready, and it wasn't out, but here it is. So I'm gonna take my gem picker, and mine's a little beat up, but I use that to grab my resin piece, and then I'm gonna stick it right on top. And I'm gonna let it sit there for a second. And I make sure it's straight, because once it bonds, man, there's no moving it around. And again, I'm trying to avoid my tape, because look, I kind of got a little close with that tape. And I just let it sit there. And I'll give it a little bit of pressure to help it. And I can wipe off any of that wax afterwards. But I'm just gonna have it sit there and let it kind of sit up and let that glue dry. So I'm gonna leave that one alone for now. And again, I'll pull off that wax at the end once it's really adhered. I don't wanna mess with it too much right now. So that's number one. 2-part resin in a mold. This mold I will link down below. Like I said, I got it on Amazon, but there are tons like it that you can get just about anywhere. Most people who sell molds sell something like this. This is like a jewelry, I think. They use, you know, I mean, I would make earrings probably or something using something like this. You know, these are really cute little studs that you can make. So this type of mold, you might be looking for an earring mold or something like that, something really small. I'll get the exact measurements and put them in the description, or post them a picture, I'll add it to the, you know, to the screen for you, because I'm not entirely sure what size these are, but I will look it up on Amazon, and then I'll put it so that I have an exact, accurate measurement of how big these are. Because again, these to me are so perfect, because look, it's just side to side. It fits perfectly right there on top. Okay, so that is the resin mold way. Way number two, and these I got, and I have a whole variety here of colors. These are those Druzy charms. They're flat back charms, which I got again off of Amazon. I love Amazon because they've been disappointing me lately though, you guys. I order stuff and it's supposed to be here the next day, and then I get emails that, oh, it's delayed, oh, your package is delayed, and you know, I ran out of thank you cards and they didn't get here in time. And then I ran out of something super important that I was like, packing tape. I was out of packing tape. Can you imagine? I'm trying to ship off my packages and I had no tape. So that, for days, I had to go to Lowe's and buy packing tape. I had to leave the house, people. I don't do that, so it was not a fun time for me. But yeah, so Amazon's been disappointing me with their delivery lately. But generally, everything I get is usually from Amazon, or I have a few suppliers that I really, really love, which I'll talk about more as I go through and make more videos. You'll hear some of my favorite vendors. You've already probably heard some of my glitter vendors that I really love. But anyway, so these Druzy charms, this one, I'll just pick, you know what, we're going with pink, and I have pink veg reels that I need to send out. So I'm just gonna get a pink one in here. So these come in a variety of colors. This was like a 200 pack or a 500 pack or something like that. And as you can see, I have basically like every single color. I don't have any green. There's no green. And I don't think I'm missing any of my containers. I do have a blue and a green container somewhere. So I don't know. I just didn't grab that one, I guess. But it comes, so I took and separated them. And these little cases I also got off Amazon so that I could separate by color, because I need to know how many of each color I have left, so that when I'm running low on something, I can reorder it. Because once I start using a thing and it's something I'm using all the time, if I'm not constantly mentally taking inventory and looking at it, how many of each color or style or whatever I have, then I'm gonna run out. Like vinyl, or you know, I have my polka dot vinyl that I use all the time in a variety of colors. So when I'm running low on a color, if I don't have it all organized nicely, then it's a disaster, because then I'll run out and not even realize that I'm so close to running out. And certain things do take a long time to get here, because I do, like I said, have to order from, you know, really good vendors that I love, and they take some time, you know, sometimes it takes a week or something to get it in the mail. So this is great. I love these little containers because they're the perfect size for what I needed, and they hold a bunch. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and there's 12, haha, I should have just read, 12 compartments. So I get 12 colors in one little container. And obviously, like I said, I have a ton of different colors and styles. And for some reason, look at, they're different. These came in the same pack. Like I ordered the same one pack of a bunch, and so they gave me a different kind of color or kind of style, which is fine, it's whatever, but it's just weird. But these ones are really super cute. These ones are, let me pull one out. These ones are like mermaids. So now I'm like, oh, I have to do a bunch more mermaid designs because just look at how pretty, I don't know if you could see or if it's doing it justice, but how pretty is that? It's just so pretty with the little mermaid scales. So, and again, I have a lot of different colors here for the mermaid scales. I've got the purple, which is the color that I currently do have made for my mermaid, and then an orange, pink, a blue green, and this is like a red purple kind of color. So, and then there's some black, white, a glass-like finish, and then some silver and some chrome-looking color. So again, these all came in the same pack. It was a pack of like 200 or something, 200, 500, something, a lot. I got a lot at the time. So we were doing pink and I put it back. So I'm gonna take it back out. So for these, it's sort of the same. Again, I'm gonna use my gem picker to pull it out. I'm gonna set it right there for now. And I'm gonna shut my little case, put that aside. And these work the same way as my resin pieces. I'm gonna take my little sanding block. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a scrape off there. And then I would normally rub it down with some alcohol with one of my, my squirter thing, but I didn't bring it to my video area, so I don't have my alcohol. So I'm just gonna wipe it off with my little napkin that I have sitting here. And that's gonna be good enough today. So that's wiped off, that's ready to go. Again, my happy glue, my glue that I love, love, love. Tiny drop of the glue. Get my gem picker, pick it up, set it down, and I'm holding it in this place that's a little bit crooked. And these, I did this first because I knew that I'd have to touch these a lot and I didn't want to get resin all over everything. I'm gonna move that piece of wax because I did not want that getting stuck in the glue. There's a lot of like adjusting with these. Well, not a lot, but there's adjusting. And so if these had glitter on them already or resin on them already, I just didn't want to have that in my space. So I'll let that sit. This one should be totally done, and I'm gonna wipe that off because that was bugging me. So yeah, so we have 2 done. These really take like 2 seconds. Like it's so fast and easy. I can do a whole batch, I mean, in minutes, like literally 2 or 3 minutes. I have, however many I can fit on a block done. Usually I use my bigger block, but because I'm doing this with you today, I just pulled out a small block and just did a few. Okay, so there's 2 ways. Number 1, we did already our mold, our resin mold, 2-part epoxy resin. You can knock out a bunch of these, make them for yourself. You already have epoxy probably on hand, so that's something that you can easily do. Add the glitter, make it cute, whatever colors that you're already making, and it's done. This you do have to order, it's separate. Those are those Druzy resin, and they're 8mm. These are 8mm, by the way, because when I was shopping for them, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, do I do the 8? Do I do the 10? I knew I didn't want to get too big with these because they are flat back. Like this, like I said, I leave it indented a little bit so that it fits over top. Because see, there's a little bit of a lip here on these. It's not huge, but it is a little bit of a lip, and it's raised up. And so if this was a flat back 10, it would sit on there on top of it, and there would be like space between. And I don't really like that. It just, for me, I'm not a fan. Some people don't care, because I see people with like huge pieces that they put on here, and they're super cute. It's just, for me, I'm nervous that it's gonna fall off. Like I said in previous videos, the people who are using these badge reels have some really high stress, very busy jobs. They're running around, they're doing things, they're bumping into things. They have, you know, if they're in a children nurse or child nurse or a teacher, there's kids around, so they're pulling on stuff and touching things and getting into their things. And, you know, so if there's a kid pulling on her badge reel, I don't really want it falling apart, you know, because it's being messed with. Plus she's messing with it during the day because, you know, people, they're pulling out their badge to open doors or, you know, whatever it is that they use it for. They're scanning them all day long. Like they actually, this is functional. It's not just, you know, aesthetic. So I want it to be functional in a way that it's not going to break and it's going to last them as long as possible. Hopefully, you know, my designs are going to outlast this reel, because these reels, you guys, if you have like a great vendor or some magical kind of badge reel pull, you let me know, because like I use Specialist ID. I do like them. I do get it, and you know, have very few issues with my badge reels that come from them, but there are still issues and they still break. Like there are times I send out a badge reel and 2 or 3 days they've had, the person's had it, you know, and they're using it and the thing's broken. And I will absolutely resend without question. I will just remake, or if I have one made already, I'll just send out a matching color and just resend it to them, you know, and profusely apologize, because oh my goodness, it's so embarrassing when that happens, because I do try to give a tug before I send it off. So I usually can catch any kind of dysfunctional ones, but sometimes, you know, they still break after being used a couple times, even though I've tugged it and I've tested it. So that's just me. If you, like I said, if you have a brand that you love, 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 and that you think is awesome, put it in the comments so that I can check it out and I'll give it a try. I'll order some and see what I can do. And, you know, if I like them better than these. I do the clear badge reels just because they match everything. I don't have to worry about running out or having to worry about, oh, you know, I have blue and I'm using blue for this or pink for that or whatever. And then I don't have to reorder. Like I buy these in bulk, packs of 50 generally, 2 at a time, you know, so it's just harder to do in color when you're doing something like that. Like when you're doing that kind of volume, it just, for me, feels harder to just get, you know, the different colors, unless I was always doing exactly the same, you know, like if it was always pink or if it was always blue or if it was whatever it is. So yeah, so if it's always the same color, then it would be one thing, but I don't do the same color. And so I just like the clear ones the best. So that's how I purchased them. Anyway, next up, we've got our resin badge reels. So for resin, I'm gonna take, and I'm using this in the video, but you guys, I don't generally put it in a cup. Where I am today and how I'm doing this today, I am using the cup. But again, when I'm glittering these, they're so small. I don't need a ton. I don't need a ton of resin. I don't need a ton of glitter. So I'm gonna take, and honestly, when I do, like, if I'm using UV resin to glitter my badge reels, like my blanks, which I'm gonna do a acrylic badge reel tutorial very soon, probably one of my next ones are gonna be the acrylic. But when I'm glittering it, I use the J Diction from Amazon because it's less expensive. So I don't use my really good UV resin for glittering stuff because it's in the back. First of all, it's on the back, and so it doesn't need to be like as perfect and clear. And if I'm putting glitter in it, if I'm mixing glitter in it, I don't need as good a quality resin finish. You know, on the top and on the front of my badge reels, I want a crystal clear, super hard, perfect finish every single time. This is not gonna give me that. It's okay, but it's not gonna give me that. You know, fingerprints, it doesn't, like it does sometimes some wonky stuff to me. So I like this for other things, you know, like if I'm doing these, you know, I'll use it for this, and I'll use it for the back of my badge reels when I use UV to glitter the back of my badge reels, you know, when I put the glitter on. So, and I'll show you that in another video, like I said. So today we're using this. My regular go-to is Counterculture DIY. I stopped using Counterculture DIY for a minute because I was having allergic reactions, which were really bad, and it was really not a good situation. I was getting rashes and it was not fun. And then I went to who did I go to? Resin Rockers, and I was using Resin Rockers. And I liked Resin Rockers. It was great. And I was ordering in bulk from their website a lot. And once I ordered 2 at a time, and both of their big old gallon or whatever, big 64 mil, whatever it is, the big jugs that I had ordered from them, they were just all messed up. Like my resin wasn't sitting properly. It wasn't curing right. There was something in that batch was just not good. And it was like during Christmas when I was crazy busy and I could not afford to not have resin, you know, that was obviously good resin and resin that was, you know, going to give me a good finish. So I ended up having to order on Amazon and, you know, to replace it. So I just spent all this money on my resin from Resin Rockers and it wasn't doing the job. And so I was like, you know what? That's it. There's not a 3 strikes out policy. I had to just switch over and I went back to my Counterculture because again, never ever had an issue with them except for me and my reaction. And so now I'm just like super careful. I'm extra careful. I've always used gloves, but again, today I'm using J-Diction right now. So I'm not using the Counterculture, but when I do, I am super careful not to like spill or like get it on my hands or get it on my skin or touch anything, you know, outside of my resin stuff when I have it on my gloves or whatever, just so that I can minimize. And it has been fine. Like I have been fine. I haven't gotten another rash ever. So after not using it for a while and then picking it back up, I don't know if the allergy like just went, I don't know what happened, but it just stopped. So I'm good now. So that's what I use. Anyway, okay, back to our resin. So I have my cup, have my resin, gonna pour a tiny bit into my cup. And again, I really don't need a ton, that's too much. This is like super watery. But when I add my glitter, and I'm using Babe from the Glitter Guy. You guys, this is my like go-to color. I use this for so many things. I use Babe for lots of different projects and lots of staple items that I have in my shop. So if I had a signature color, it would be Babe from the Glitter Guy. I love their glitter. They have sales every single Sunday. I'm just a fan. I'm a fan. I use lots of different companies. And I'm a fan of all of them actually. Like I'll tell you, I love them all because I do love them all. And there's a variety and there are staple colors from each one that my shop, like I use every day that I couldn't live without. Like there are ones that I order 2 every time I order so that I make sure I have a backup, you know, when I run out. And Babe is definitely one of those from the Glitter Guy. And so we're just gonna add, and I put it on this side with the little spots instead of the open side because I don't wanna over pour my glitter because I do that a lot and then I have too much and then I will need to go grab a blank and put it on there instead of just doing badge reels. Oh, and I didn't bring a mixer. Huh, okay. I need a mixer. Okay, so as you can see, my little tool, I love this tool. I really do. I break it because I use it so much. Like, so this side has totally fallen out and come off. But I use it for everything. So this is my color mixing tool. I use a different one for the topper, like when I'm done and I'm finishing it off, because I don't want to contaminate my top layer with any kind of specks of glitter or anything that's not supposed to be there. So I use one that I don't have any kind of, like it's totally clean and perfect and pretty. So that's what I use when I'm doing a topper, the top part of a topper. But when I'm mixing glitter and adding, you know, glitter resin, when I'm mixing glitter and adding glittered resin to anything, I will use this kind of messy one, messy, dirty, well-loved. Let's use well-loved. Okay, so, and we're gonna mix it up. And I really want a thicker consistency and I put way too much resin in here. So now I'm gonna have to add more glitter. And I might go grab a mold, not a mold. I might go grab a blank so that I can use the rest of this because I do not at all waste resin or glitter. I will pour it off onto something for sure. I don't put UV resin in these. This is clear. This is a clear mold, but I'm still not totally comfortable using it with UV resin. They say that you can do it, but I still feel like it's not something I want to do or try to do. Or I don't want to waste any resin. So putting it in there and having it not cure correctly, a little nerve-wracking, a little scary. Maybe I'll try it today since I have a little extra made up here, but again, that is far too much, you guys. Do not pour as much as I did. If you're doing, I might just put down more badge reels. That's what I might do and just get a whole bunch done right now. Okay, so I like this for the mixing, but I also like that it has the pointy top. So I'm gonna take in just a little bit. And again, it's still a little bit too drippy for me, but I'm gonna take this little pointy top and add a little more glitter. Because I do want a solid, good color, like a dark pink color. I don't want it to be see-through, and I don't want it to, I don't want it to be transparent, and I don't want it to be too thin. But I also don't want it to be too thick, because if I have made it too thick before, and then it's like, it doesn't cure with a nice, sheen coat. It's like a bumpy coat, so you don't want to put too much glitter in your resin. And this one is a little bit better consistency for me. That makes me happier. Okay, so those two are done. I take my pointy part and just drop little bits right into the well, so carefully, so slowly, because you don't want to go over. I refill my little top here. It's a little much. And just let it I stay in the center so that I don't accidentally push my thing over. And I just let it fall to the sides. And I'm gonna leave that one alone and let it sort of level itself out. And I'm gonna get a little bit more and do the other side. And same idea. Take your time, there's no rush. It's kind of relaxing actually, sitting here doing this. Just letting it fall in there. You don't want to overfill it, because see, this one's a lot more full than that one. And I just want to let it fall and see if it levels itself out. Doing the next one. And that's what's great about my little block, is I can just set up a whole bunch at one time, get it all done. What I also will do is 2 or 3. And then I'll give it a hit with my UV light. Just so it doesn't drip over. I need one of those handheld UV lights. I've seen those, where you just hit it with it's like a flashlight kind of thing, and it has like a little trigger, and you just snap it like that on real quick. That's kind of the idea, just to give it that little bit of cure. I'm not trying to completely cure those. I just don't want them dripping while I'm still working, because if I did go over, like that one's a little bit over, I don't want it to drip outside of the well. And that one is not flush, so we're gonna push that down a little bit. And look at my tape is not good. My tape is too close. So I'm gonna pull that down a little bit. I should really retape that, but I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna be extra careful not to go over. And again, we're just filling up the well, staying in the center, letting it level itself out to take it to those sides. And give this a little bit more. And as you can see, when I got my UV resin out, I did put gloves on. So please always wear your PPE, your protective gear. It's so important. After a while, you know, does get to be, like I said, I've had the rashes, I've had issues. I don't want to see that happen to anyone else because it was not a fun time. It was not comfortable. And then, you know, if this is your business, you don't want to feel defeated, like, oh my gosh, now I have to close my business because I'm not physically capable of doing it anymore, you know, because I kind of felt like that for a second. I said, oh my goodness, what if I can't do this anymore? You know, when I was doing really well, I'm checking just to see that all of my, like, resin is good. You know, I see people who do these videos and they like must have special, like they must buy like an extra light or something that they never use for real stuff and they only use it for videos. Because let me tell you, when my hands have stuff on them and I touch this, I drip on it, like this is a disaster. It's so dirty. It's so dirty. And you know what? It is what it is. That's how my life is right now. I can't keep it clean. So I'm not gonna buy a new one right this second. I've got 4 of them and they're all dirty like this because I touch and I poke and I turn the button on. Look at this button. This button has so much resin on it because it does drip on my hands. I do get stuff all over me. Look at all the like dust I have just on my fingers just from glittering. And so I'm just giving it a little bit of a light right now to cure just enough so that while I'm talking, it doesn't drip out because we're done. Like that's really all there is to these 3 different types of, you know, finishes for badge roll buttons. So we did, again, just to recap, we did the 2-part epoxy resin in the mold. We did the Druzy pieces with some super glue, some of my Loctite super glue professional liquid. And then these are all epoxy, UV resin that we just mixed it up and put on there. Okay, so if you have any questions about what we did today, I will link all of the products down below so that you have access to them if you want them or if you want to use any of this stuff. I will do that for you. My dogs are starting to get out of hand, so it sounds like it's time for me to wrap this up because they are just ready to go outside. But yeah, if you have questions or whatever, put them in the comments below. I will answer as soon as I can. And that's it. So thanks again for watching. Remember to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and take care, friends. Thanks.